Hey guys, what is up? Coaster Nate here. Today I'm going to be reviewing Darien Lake, the amusement park in upstate New York. I did go to this park recently, last Thursday, and I will be giving my full thoughts and opinion on this park. There are 8 roller coasters here, 2 of which I was unable to ride because they were down on that day. But this park does have quite a few problems, and one of the major ones that I found was that they were only operating one train for every single ride except for Tantrum, but that is because it was a low capacity ride and it is by Gerstlauer, and they aren't known for having the highest capacity trains. But the reason why we're only running one train for every ride is that this used to be a Six Flags park. So when they got sold and were bought by another owner, they had to sell some of the trains in order to keep the park up and running. So that is the reason why they were only running one train. Another issue with this park is that for rides like Superman, Ride of Steel, and Viper, I found that the operations were very slow. It may have been just that particular day, or maybe the workers, but for other rides like Tantrum, they were running it fairly fast, mainly because each train only consisted of 8 people and there were 2 trains. But other than that, this is a pretty nice park. They've got multiple lakes and a very nice fountain, and just the scenery is very nice at this park. And this park is more well known for their concerts at night and water park more than their roller coasters. They do have a few, but most of them aren't really that good. The really good ones are Superman and Tantrum. That's what I found. They have some pretty decent flat rides. I mean, they've got a Super Loop, which is I've actually found to be kind of fun, believe it or not. I hear that Super Loops do get a lot of hate, but I didn't really find anything wrong with this ride. My only complaint is it is a very long ride, and I remember just waiting in line for it. It wasn't a long line, thankfully, but just waiting for it to invert, but it did take a very long time to do that. So I was just thinking that it's not really fair to those waiting in line. It is too long in my opinion. I feel like that they could have cut the duration of the ride in half. Maybe they could have made it invert faster or something. But other than that, it's a fun ride. They also have some water rides, as you can see here in the video. But one of my favorite rides here was Tantrum. This ride is just plain fun. Like, it's a very short ride. It's only got 1,200 feet of track, but man, does it make up for it. It's got a 97-degree drop, 1 inversion, which isn't too much, but it's got some good bank turns, and overall it's just a fun ride. It isn't the most forceful. However, it does have some pretty good airtime moments, especially on that first drop. You just fly out of your seat. It's just nuts, that first drop. It's not as good as Mavericks, but it is a lot of fun. This roller coaster, I think I might actually like it more than Behemoth. Now you can write down in the comments what you like more, Tantrum or Behemoth, and I will be doing more coaster reviews of Darien Lake, the ones I got to go on. But this was my very first Gerstlauer roller coaster. At first, when I saw the POVs for this, I was thinking, it doesn't look that good. But when I rode it, it did really make up for it. But this is just the definition of a fun ride. It's more of a family coaster. I did see a lot of young kids go on it. But yeah, it is a very good roller coaster. They also have a Vekoma SLC, which I actually found to be smoother than Flight Deck. I don't know what it was, but just the transitions on it were very good. Very, not the smoothest, but they were overall much smoother than Flight Deck's transitions. Flight Decks, especially when we're going into this section, as you can see in the video, it's a very jerky section, and it gives you a lot of headbanging. But this, I didn't get too much headbanging on. My tip for going on Vekoma SLCs, if you ever want to go on one, just go on it to get the credit, but my tip to avoid headbanging is to press your head to the right side or the left. I prefer the right side because I just find I get less headbanging if I press my head against the right side. But that's what I found to be a very helpful tip. But this park is just very nice to walk around, especially in this shot here. You can see how you can see all the roller coasters. You can see Boomerang in the back. You can see Predator and Superman. It's just all around the lake there. They've also got this ride that's kind of like Riptide at Canada's Wonderland, but except on that one you don't get wet. Also got some antique cars. And here is Predator, and I did not have a good experience on this ride. And I think the reason was that my lap bar did not close properly, so I had about 4 inches of room. So it was a very rough ride for me. My brother was sitting next to me, and his lap bar closed all the way, so I think he enjoyed the ride more than me. But other than that, it does give some very good airtime. It has some good ejector airtime and floater airtime moments, but it was a very rough ride, and I think that's going to be my only time riding it, unless I sit on the right side next time. But yeah, great airtime. I just recommend going on it once to get the credit, and then you don't have to go on it again. But one advantage this coaster does have is that it's right up against one of the lakes, so it does give some really good scenery as you're going through the ride. It was very nice to look at, but it is still a rough ride. But moving on, they also have a S&S drop tower. It was very fun, but I didn't find it to be as good or as intense as the one at Cedar Point. Don't get me wrong, this is still a very good drop tower. It's just, it wasn't as like tall or fast as Cedar Point. Another complaint I've often found on the internet is that their food operations and food selection isn't that good. And the food selection there wasn't a huge variety of food. It was like your typical kind of food you'd find at any amusement park. Pizza, fries, hot dogs, stuff like that. But their food operations weren't that bad. They weren't like Cedar Point amazing, but they were pretty good. Also here in this shot we have Viper, the aerodynamics roller coaster, and I found this roller coaster to be smoother than Dragonfire Canada's Wonderland. It isn't the smoothest aerodynamics coaster, but it isn't that bad. My only 2 complaints about this ride are the smoothness category. It's not the smoothest, especially going through those inversions, and also the mid-course brake run. Now this mid-course brake run is like Titans. You gain up all that speed, as you can see here, going through the drop, and then you're just speeding through all the elements, and then all of a sudden, boom, the mid-course brake run just completely kills all that momentum you just had, and then you slowly turn and then go into these 2 corkscrews followed by a tunnel and into the final brake run. And if this was me building the roller coaster and I had a choice of what I was going to put instead of a mid-course brake run, I probably would have just put a vertical loop. But overall, it's still a fun ride. I enjoyed it. I found it to be pretty good, excluding the fact of the mid-course brake run. But it is very nice to look at from the queue line. I like how they did that at the end with the 2 corkscrews. You could watch the ride go through it as you're waiting in line. But yeah, it is a very nice sight. Overall, this park is very fun. It's not the best park in the world. There's no such thing as a perfect park. It does have its flaws, but overall, I'm going to be giving Darien Lake a 6 out of 10. And that will wrap up this review. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys next time here at Coaster Nate.